Hi, I'm Kelly and welcome to Kapowski Reads. And I've got a whole plan. I've got a whole plan for this week's vlog. I am getting ready to go out and go to the big library which is in town. Aberdeen's got loads of libraries, but the biggest one is in the centre. It's the Central Library and there's a book there that I want to pick up. And I thought, well, why don't I go and pick up the book and read my book while I'm there. Read a different book. Because this week I'm reading The Woman in the Library by Sulari Gentill, and well, it just makes sense that I be a woman reading it in the library. So that's my plan. This book is about 4 people who are in a library in a reading room and they hear a scream and somebody has been killed. And one of those people is a writer. And that's pretty much all I know about this book. I know it's by an Australian author, and to be honest, I heard the vaguest little blurb, saw the cover, fell in love, and asked for it for Christmas. So that's the main reason I want to read this. I'm going in pretty much with like no expectations. So I'm going to bring you along with me to the library, going to read this and have a good time. That sounds like an excellent plan for a day. Well, I don't want to say that this vlog is cursed, but I definitely feel like I might be jinxed. I don't remember cracking any mirrors or anything like that, but I got to the library today in town, which today is so icy. It is one of the iciest days that we've had for a really long time, and my path was so slippy. I basically slid my way to the bus stop to get into town. I was wearing shoes with really good soles, but still so slippy. Got into town, get to the library after waddling like a penguin across the street because it was still very icy because it was quite early, and the library's closed. The library was closed. So it was not to be. I did not manage to go into the library and get that copy of Poster Girl by Veronica Roth that I wanted to get. They had one copy, and it was in that location, and I wanted to get it before somebody else did, but it wasn't to be. And to be honest, I probably don't have time to read it right now, so somebody else can get it and enjoy it. I can wait. I ended up having a fantastic morning though. After the heartache of the library being closed, I decided that I wasn't gonna just go home. That felt like a waste of a bus journey, and you know, I hadn't had any coffee or breakfast before leaving the house. So I went and got some breakfast at Books and Beans, which is this gorgeous cafe in Aberdeen in the city centre in Belmont Street, I want to say. Cobbled streets, absolutely gorgeous. And it also sells some secondhand books, which, oh, I resisted, but it was hard. And I went there for breakfast, I got some coffee and I got a pancake with bacon, which was delicious and felt like the right choice. And then I read some more of my book and oh, I'm loving this. I am absolutely loving this. Why are more people not talking about this book? Because, well, it's relatively new actually. Is it? It came out last year. I want to say near the end of the year, but maybe I just heard about it near the end of the year. But either way, this book, more people need to read this. I mean, I don't know what happens in the last 100 pages. I'm only 150 pages in, but something is, you know, dreadful would need to happen for this to not get at least 4 stars from me. The 150 pages I've read so far, I'm definitely getting 5-star vibes, but I know, I don't want to jinx myself, especially after the morning I've had. So I explained this book terribly. I completely misinterpreted the blurb of it. So ignore the description I have given of this book because it's wrong. This book is still about 4 strangers who meet in a reading room and bear witness to hearing a murder, a death of a woman. They hear her scream, but those 4 people are in a work of fiction. And this book has a book in the book. So far, in the 3/5 I have read, the book is alternating between letters from somebody called Leo, who is writing to his author friend who is writing the book in this book. And after each letter, there's a chapter, then another letter. And you can see that he's sort of trying to help her with her writing. She is a successful author and he is a struggling author. And he's giving me like the creepy vibes. He's very like, Stan, I'm your biggest fan, creeper. And there's a bit where he's writing a letter and he's like, oh, it's so hard to get a book deal because I am a white man and I'm not a minority or a box to tick. And I'm just like, oh, or maybe your book's just awful. Maybe nobody wants to publish your opus because it's not good, Leo. I don't really like Leo, and I don't think we're meant to. He's giving me such little creepy vibes, and it just seems to escalate. And there's something about him. So very excited to find out what happens there. And I'm loving the chapters that we're getting. So it's kind of like a slow build of the story within the story. I know nothing of the author of the book. She's the person that Leo is writing to, so I've not seen any of her responses. And the story within the story is also so good. There are 2 authors in that story, and they've got 2 sort of university students that they've met in that reading room where they formed this bond. And I'm really liking the way that their friendship is progressing. And it just, I love that everybody seems suspicious. I'm just suspicious of everybody. And I cannot wait to find out 2 things. I want to find out what happens in the story that Hannah is writing, because all of the signs are pointing to it being one guy, and I don't think it's gonna be him. I don't think it, because it just seems so easy, and it just feels like all the signs are pointing to him, that I'm going, well, it can't be him, it has to be somebody else. So I'm expecting and hoping for like a big twist to come. Also, the person who it looks like has done the murder, he's an author and is like, oh, red herrings in a book are just lazy. And I'm like, no, I love a misdirect and a mystery. Shut up, Mr. Guy in a book. You know nothing of what I enjoy. And I'm really liking that. And the other thing I want to find out is what is happening with Leo. And is Leo gonna go all sort of Misery-esque? Or is he gonna go, like, it just feels like Leo's behaviour is escalating in those letters, and it's quite scary. And I could only imagine if this was real, that Hannah, to receive those letters, would be just terrified. So I'm absolutely just loving this book, and I'm so happy that I am, because in the theme of this vlog, feeling jinxed, this was not the book that I was planning to talk about this week. I was planning to talk to you about Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus, because I was going to read that, I was going to love it, and all was going to be great. But I read it, got a migraine. Are these 2 things related? I think so. And then I DNF'd it because I didn't like it. I did not enjoy it. Not for me. And that's okay. I'm actually quite proud of myself because I struggle to DNF books. And I know I should, if I know in like my soul that it's not gonna be worth it. Like, I knew that the part of Lessons in Chemistry I had read, that book would be lucky to get like a 2-star from me. And I just thought, it's a big book, and there are so many other books that I wanted to read that I just went, nope, put it down, done. But that then meant that my plan for this vlog was done. But lucky for me, I was also reading another book that I was like, oh, step aside lessons in chemistry. We've got a book in a book featuring a library. Winner. I am now off to, well, first of all, I'm going to go and pat the cat because he met me when I came home off the bus. He is full with like no self-preservation skills. He just sashayed into the road and just stood in the middle of the road waiting for me. So my neighbours got to bear witness to me being like, no, Mary, get off of the road. And sort of shepherding the cat to the street. So lucky them. And I'm going to read more of this because I'm just loving it. I'm also going to get something warm to drink because my throat is so sore because it's such a cold day. It's not too cold. It's 4 degrees. But it feels so much colder. The wind is like ice, just like knives cutting through. And my chest hurts because I have the lungs of a Victorian chimney sweep child, apparently. But yeah, the day ended up being much better than I feared it would be after getting to the library, and it was closed. I will report back when I finish this book, which I expect to be tomorrow. I finished it today. I finished The Woman in the Library, and I got to go to the library because I just feel like, oh, I mean, this book just made me think fondly of the library, and I hadn't been for a few weeks. So I popped in, and my local library had it's a very small library, but it had such a huge selection of books that I wanted to read. And that's kind of, it feels a little bit rare that that happens. I usually order books in because it's such a small library, it's usually only non-fiction and just plain fiction with a very small sci-fi and fantasy section and a massive children's bit, which is brilliant because it's great for kids to be able to access books. And I was just delighted to find so many books that I wanted. I had just gone in for a stroll, but I ended up having an armful of quite hefty books, and I had to put a lot of them back because I knew I can't guarantee I'm going to get to them all in the 1 month that I have. So I put most of them back and I only got 2. Only on the Weekends by Dean Atta. I actually went in to get The Black Flamingo. The Black Flamingo? Yes. I'm fairly certain that's the title of it, by Dean Atta. But I couldn't find it. Somebody else had gotten in before me. So I picked up this one instead. I've never read anything by Dean Atta, but they do come to me quite highly recommended. And this book is about young love with our 2 protagonists are separated because one of them has to go away for their parents' work, so they can only get together at the weekends. And it's young love, so it's probably not going to go so smoothly, and I think that there are some other people, some new interests that pop up. So I'm very much looking forward to this, and I have heard that this author's writing is just absolutely beautiful. So very much looking forward to this. I might, will I read this weekend? Maybe, I don't know. And I also picked up Winter by Ali Smith. I have been wanting to read this book since I read Ginger and Me for the Scottish Book Club, because the main character in that book becomes quite obsessed with authors, and Ali Smith is mentioned. So I kind of wanted to read Ali Smith. Plus, she's a very, very popular Scottish author that I've never read anything by. And I have been wanting to read their sort of seasonal books. They do spring, summer, autumn and winter. And I might be making a huge mistake going in with winter. I will find out. I'll actually double check that first, because if I'm meant to start with spring, then I will. I don't know if these are standalones. I should have checked. And this story, all I know about this is that it's about a group of people who find themselves sharing a property over Christmas. That's pretty much all I know. But back to the woman in the library. I very much strongly feel like I have found myself a new favourite book. I utterly loved this. I finished it and I felt like I went like pure feral with just joy, because I was just walking around the house clutching the book, just going, I loved it. And I wanted to go outside and just like throw the book at people to make them read it, but I didn't do that because it's my book. I didn't do that, but I just had the urge to like force people to read this, because I haven't actually seen this book on BookTube or on Bookstagram, and people need to talk about this book so that I can talk about it with them, because I loved it. Where I left off yesterday, there was a huge reveal and it just amped up the tension from there, and I was already tense and at the edge of my seat. But when that happened, I was like, so excited. And everything was amplified after that point. And the book continued the format of correspondence with Leo, chapter of the manuscript, the novel, email from correspondence from Leo, chapter of the novel. And it just kept that way throughout the book, and I just loved that. There were a few points where I disagreed with what the characters in the novel were getting up to, but then I had to remember that this was a first draft of a novel that was being sent to a sort of acquaintance. It wasn't the finished book, so it was okay that I could be reading it going, well, I disagree with that. I think you're a fool. And I think I enjoyed it so much more than I would have had it just been a novel of the women in the library. I think that just really, it enhanced my enjoyment so much. I loved the way that Leo's correspondence continued to get more and more terrifying. That man, he needs help. He needs help and to be kept away from people. And while this book was super short, it was only 250 pages. I felt like the characters got so much development, the characters in the novel portion of the book, even though I think the novel only really made up 200 pages or so. But I feel like I was getting to know those characters. I had strong feelings towards them, and I loved the little seeds of doubt that got planted. And because of the format of this book, it was about so much more than just the novel. It was about Leo as well. There wasn't a definitive conclusion to the novel portion in this book. If that's something that you think might bug you, then do take that on board. But there is the reveal, and you find out who did the murder, you find out why they did it, and you sort of find out a lot more about the characters and their motivations. So I feel like it gave me everything that I needed to know, but there probably, if that were a full novel, there would be more afterwards, sort of the repercussions of the grand reveal. But I didn't need that. I just needed to know who done it, why they done it, and what was going on with Leo. I got what I wanted. And I feel like this book was just, for me, it was utter perfection. And I've never read a book quite like this before. I think the format was just so unusual, and I absolutely loved it. It really did play the key role where Leo was trying to influence the novel, and was also revealing a little bit about himself, which became more and more worrying. And you could see that the emails were important to this book. I don't think that I would have enjoyed this book nearly as much if it were either just the emails or just the novel. It needed to have both, and I just thought it was just expertly done. And I had the best time reading this book. I read it in less than 24 hours because I refused to live in a world where I had not finished this book. I needed to finish it, and I need to talk about it because I just utterly loved it. So yes, I thought characters fantastic, and every single character in this book had growth, and I felt like they had motivation. I felt like they felt real. Whether or not I would want to spend any time with them, totally different matter, but they felt real and I felt attached to them. I felt emotional when things happened. So I thought that was beautiful. I thought that was so important. I loved the format. I loved a book within a book is what I love. But more than that, there was a book within the book that was within the book that was referenced. And I was just like, this is Inception and I am here for it. I just absolutely loved it. 5 stars. I would quite like to read more of this author's writing because I did really enjoy her writing. I know that she does a series, but I think it's set in like the 1930s and it's completely different. So I might check out and see if she's got a few more standalones maybe, but definitely highly recommend this book. And it is the first book of my 23 in 2023 that I've read, and I'm just feeling very good about that challenge that I set for myself because I'm starting with a 5 star that I want to like throw at people to make them read. I feel like that's the best start I could have had. I would love to know what you've been reading this week, so please let me know in the comments. If you've read this book, let me know how you got on with it. Were you as obsessed with it as I clearly am? Thank you so much for watching. Bye!